Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about three technique trends that you're going to hear a lot about in 2024. And honestly, I think they're well deserved, and you probably are going to want to try to fish these techniques if you haven't tried them already. Not only are a lot of anglers starting to get behind these trends, but what we're starting to see and what I'm hearing about within the industry are a lot of companies producing specific baits and tackle for these trends. And that's where you're going to get a lot of your momentum into 2024. So to start the year might be a little bit more quiet, but you're going to hear a lot more about these by the end of 2024. So we're going to get into these, but before we do, I want to remind you, if you're looking to support the channel, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link that I provide in the video description to make your tackle purchases. You can bookmark those for future purchases as well. And the little bit that I make from that goes right back into creating content for the channel, and it's very, very much appreciated. Also, if you're looking to support the channel and you don't need to make a tackle purchase, hit that subscription button. It's a great way to show your support as well. All right, so let's talk about these three techniques. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the whole concept of a slasher bait category that's starting to become more relevant. The reason I call it slasher baits is because there isn't really a true technique name yet for it. But what I'm talking about are baits like this guy right here. This is the Power Switch by Berkeley. So the idea behind this is kind of along the same lines of a lot of what you're seeing with forward-facing sonar baits. But this is a bait that's got an internally weighted head within the body. Based on weight displacement, what this does is you have extremely erratic darting motion in the water. So this little guy, 3 inches long, 3/8 of an ounce. So it's a very heavy little bait. It's got no tail on it. It's got a little flat kind of spade, but no tail or flappers to catch water to slow the bait down. So with rod tip motions, with movements of your rod tip, this bait darts not just inches, but I'm talking 3 or 4 feet to the side, and it's extremely erratic, a crazy slashing motion in the water. This is one of the first baits on the market, but I can assure you there's going to be several more baits along the same line of these crazy slasher style baits that come out this upcoming season. You're going to see these baits in both soft baits, potentially hard baits. They're going to be just slashing all over the place. It's almost like it's a extremely weighted jerk bait in a way, with no lip. The bait just darts, goes all over the place. But what we're finding with baits like the Power Switch here is that it generates really good reaction strikes out of fish. A lot of times, the other baits that we have to use on the market don't have that speed that these slash style baits have. That speed is what makes the fish think that the bait is getting away from them, triggers that reaction strike. So you're going to see some more baits come out this year that have an immense amount of slashing action, and they really generate a lot of speed that gives them really good distance in movement underwater. This guy right here, the Power Switch, is one of the first ones. You're going to hear a lot more about this bait. It kind of came out pretty quiet to the market, but I know there's a lot of professional anglers out there that are playing around with that bait quite a bit right now and having a lot of success, including myself. And I think you're going to hear a lot more about it. I'm terming that category slasher baits because I do think that the crazy action is just unreal, like anything else we've seen, and it feels much more like a slashing motion than, say, a jerk bait or like a glide bait or something along those lines. So that's one category. Another one we did see in 2023, and it is the hover rig. It is your hover strolling technique. The hover rig, I really feel like did a really good job at opening that up. The Core Tackle hover rig, which you guys know I'm part owner of. But at this point, we've seen a lot of knockoffs. Now, those knockoffs aren't necessarily great for Core Tackle, but what they do is solidify the hover strolling technique as a very good technique that you're going to hear and see a lot more of. In this case, this is with one of my favorite baits, the Bass Tricks Flash Tricks. As you can see right here, an extremely natural, lifelike presentation. Now this, your hover strolling technique, kind of is the opposite of the Power Switch. The Power Switch is like, it's like a minnow on steroids. You're Hover strolling technique is more like your dying minnow. It's more of like that simple, easy meal. So this bait, yes, will definitely dart and twitch around underwater. It's not as aggressive in the motions, but this is a bait that just generates and presents itself as an extremely easy meal for the fish. We saw a lot of traction with respect to hover strolling in 2023, but I really feel like that is just a drop in the bucket in terms of what we're going to see in 2024, with a lot of other companies coming out with knockoffs to the core tackle hover rig hook, as well as specialized baits specifically for hover strolling. So when you have that, when you have a lot of industry companies out there putting money behind it, you're going to have a lot more push towards getting those baits and that tackle into the hands of the consumer. And therefore, more people are going to use it. More people are going to see how deadly this guy right here can be. And then the last one, again, I've talked about this a couple times in the channel too, but this is for me, it's one of the coolest techniques that I got on this year, and it's simply the process or the technique of shot wacky. So the shot wacky technique is where you take a weight, you lower it on the hook point, bring your worm closer to it, and because your weight and your worm are more connected, it falls as if it's an unweighted wacky rig worm, but you get more motion because it generates a little bit more speed in the center part of the worm. Completely different than if you use a weighted wacky rig hook. If you use a weighted wacky rig hook, the bait's going to want to fall like this. Your worm folds up and it just kind of folds up. You don't get the same movement that you get out of a unweighted wacky rig worm. But the fact that you generate a little bit more speed because of the really light weight increases the movement in your worm. So it's like a wacky rig worm, kind of on steroids again. Falls a little bit faster, arms shake a little bit more, and it's a really good technique. And it's one that I think we're going to hear a lot more about in 2024, and a technique that you're going to want to start fishing because of how good it can be. And again, a lot of this goes back to techniques that the fish haven't seen before. Yes, these have been around for a few months now, but most lakes, most fish don't have much pressure in terms of people using it. There are a handful of people, and they're taking advantage of how good these techniques are right now. But even through 2024, these are still things that the fish really have not seen, and we're only going to want to put them to use more in 2024. And I think you guys will hear a lot more about them because there's going to be a lot more specific tackle and gear made towards it. I think you may hear of some tournaments potentially being won or high finishes on them. I think overall they are here to stay. So let me know in the comment section, what new techniques do you think will be a trend in 2024 that maybe we can get on before a lot of the general fishing public? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.